But what James Carville is referring to is this huge drop in support for President Trump and for Elon Musk and what he's doing at DOGE. So there were a bunch of polls that came out. CNN has 2-to-1 people are upset about Musk having such a prominent role in the government.
24 hours later.
When asked if DOGE is helping make major cuts in government expenditures, 60% say, heck yeah, it's helping. 40% say, no, it's not helping.
Talk about egg on their faces. The legacy media has been caught once again trying to manufacture polling that seeks to influence public opinion, not reflect it. There is indeed a polling plunge, but it is emphatically not for President Trump and DOGE. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that support for the Democrat Party has cratered to just 21%. 21%. It does not get much lower than that. Republicans are clocking in at twice that. Congressional Republican approval sits at 40%, and we're seeing it in the generic ballot polls. Those are the questions people get asked, who do you plan to vote for in the midterms? Republicans have a 7-point advantage, 48-41. And we're seeing it in the continuation of the voter registration advantage that dominated for the Republicans all throughout 2024. So take a look at these are the latest numbers coming out of the otherwise deep blue state of New York. I mean, serious, look at this, gang. The Republicans just gained 72,000 voters on Democrats in January. The Democrats lost nearly 50,000 voter registrations. You heard that right. 50,000 lost by the Democrats in January, whereas Republicans gained over 23,000 new voters. That's a 72,000 voter registration swing towards Republicans. And Scott Pressler's reporting that we're just 89,000 registrations away from flipping Pennsylvania, gang. Now, as a point of comparison, just a few years back, Democrats had 1 million voter registration advantage in Pennsylvania. There were over 1 million more Democrats registered in Pennsylvania than Republicans literally just a few years ago. When Trump first won Pennsylvania back in 2016, the Democrats had a near 600,000 voter registration advantage. Yeah, a lot of working class Democrats who didn't change their voter affiliation obviously defected and voted for Trump. But now we're just 89,000 registrations away from actually flipping Pennsylvania officially red. Absolutely astonishing stuff. Voter identification and voter registration is clearly trending Republican all across the country. At the same time, you now have the latest Harvard-Harris poll that just came out in the last 24 hours. Ironically, at the very same time, the Democrat media has been pushing this false narrative, not news, narrative, that Trump and DOGE's poll numbers are plunging. At the very same time, they're trying to sell you on their latest poll scam. Harvard-Harris is showing record support for Trump and DOGE. 2 in 3 voters believe the federal government's debt is unsustainable. 4 in 5 say that it is imperative for the federal government to balance its budget. Keep an eye on that. That, again, I've said it before, that might, in fact, be the real gift of the Trump administration, that they give us a balanced budget in the end of all this. 77% of voters, 77% want a full audit of the entire federal government to see where their money is going. 77%. And this is because voters are going through, well, how do I put it? They're going through a change of perception right now. The more they're finding out from DOGE, the more revelations coming out of DOGE, the more voters are moving from the perspective that the federal government is broken and inefficient to the realization that the federal government is actually corrupt and rigged. So more and more voters are realizing the government isn't simply incompetent, the government is corrupt. So it's no wonder that DOGE is getting super majority support. Again, according to the latest Harvard-Harris that just came out in the last 24 hours, DOGE has a 60% approval rating. I mean, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that the Democrats are advocating that comes even close to that level of support. In fact, we're about to see one major Democrat figure on the national stage whose approval ratings, I kid you not, have fallen to the single digits. Single digit approval. Wait until you see this. But first, gang, this is it. The moment we've been waiting for. America's golden age is here, and I want to help you take full advantage of it. Join me online this Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the America's Golden Age Summit. We've got an incredible lineup of expert guests who will give you real actionable strategies to build wealth, take control of your future, and thrive in this rising patriot economy. And here's the best part. When you register today for just $10 with promo code GoldenAge25, you'll get a free extra ticket to give it to a friend. Plus, you'll receive tons of free bonuses, including 3 months of Courageous Conservatives Club membership. 3 months. Time is short, gang. Seats are filling up fast. Secure your spot now by registering at the link below. This is your moment. Don't miss it. If you're the Democrat mayor of the city of Chicago, a 21% approval rating that the Democrats, congressional Democrats, are getting would be a godsend. Mayor Brandon Johnson is as woke gets. He was voted in by a combination of affluent white Chicago liberals and the far more poor underclass. The middle class generally did not vote for him. They voted overwhelmingly for the far more conservative law and order Democrat candidate in their primary. But Brandon Johnson is the product of what happens when uppity woke liberals lock arms with a mass Marxist underclass. He's turned Chicago into a sanctuary city. He's pushed so-called restorative justice measures that release violent criminals into the general population. Obviously, violent crime is shot through the roof. Right now, as we speak, according to M3 Strategy's polling, Brandon Johnson has a 6% approval rating. 6%. 80% disapprove of his job as mayor. Again, gang, I need to underscore, this is Chicago. This is a liberal woke mecca. This is a woke mayor getting six, that's single digits, 6% approval, not in a deep red rural district. He's getting a 6% approval, 80% disapproval in Chicago, the heart of liberal land itself. I mean, it's the political home of Barack Obama. The legacy media is currently doing what they do best, fabricating polls against Trump and DOGE that seek to influence rather than reflect public opinion. When in point of fact, their own Democrat mayors are experiencing a polling implosion, the likes of which we frankly have never seen. Here's CNN recently running into a bit of an embarrassment when they found out that blue state voters in Colorado overwhelmingly support President Trump.
So would Esmeralda Ramirez-Rey. She smiles when asked about Trump's frenetic first month.
I voted for that. I love it.
What did you vote for?
I voted for a president that was going to put America first. I voted for a president that was going to secure our borders. And I voted for a president that was going to make sure that we were respected throughout the world. And I believe I'm getting that.
And we can keep going. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The former Democrat, now left-wing independent Andrew Yang, inadvertently stepped in it, as we say. He ran a poll among his X-Feed followers about how the Trump administration is doing. How do you think he's doing? What are you guys thinking? To his shock, he found that 70% responded with great. 81% if you include the 11% that said, yeah, he's okay. I mean, there's just no way around this. America first is the new consensus. MAGA is the new super majority. And we've talked about why this is. MAGA, being a populist movement, inverts the political divide. So we generally think of the political divide as a horizontal divide, a divide between left versus right, liberal versus conservative, Democrat versus Republican, labor versus Tory, and the like. What Trump has done is he's effectively redefined the horizontal divide into a vertical divide, one characterized by the people versus the corrupt political class, the ruled versus the rulers, the ordinary American versus the oligarch. We first saw this back in 2010 when pollsters Doug Schoen and Scott Rasmussen analyzed the Tea Party movement, and they found in their data that they were witnessing a political realignment where more and more voters believed it just didn't matter if they voted Republican or Democrat. They didn't believe in this horizontal divide anymore because they believed they were basically the same party. Republicans and Democrats were just two different flavors, two different shades of the same uniparty. And so more and more, what Rasmussen and Schoen were recognizing, more and more the data was showing that the electorate was shifting to a ruled versus ruler divide, a people versus political class divide, not left versus right, not Republican versus Democrat, because there's basically no difference between the two. And the key here is with that inverted divide, we can actually see now new supermajorities emerge. And the reason for that is because as long as the divide was horizontal, right, before this recalibration, a political supermajority was virtually impossible. And that's because of left versus right wedge issues. Left versus right wedge issues more or less guaranteed a 50-50 split in the electorate. I remember Biden back in 2020. You don't vote for me, you ain't black. Remember that? With Charlemagne the God. You don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's a wedge issue. So that's a politics based on a horizontal partisan divide defined around identity politics, and that all minorities are supposed to be voting left. But with a vertical divide, with a politics realigned around the people, everyone, all people, all law-abiding citizens, versus this corrupt permanent political class, with that recalibrated divide, now space opens up for the emergence of a new supermajority electorate that simply doesn't get obstructed by wedge issues anymore. Wedge issues simply don't work when people like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk, who voted for Biden, and Latino voters and Gen Z voters and everyone who was on Biden's side 4 years ago suddenly defected and now realign themselves around Trump. And why have they done that? Because they've had it with this corrupt permanent political class, especially a legacy media that keeps fabricating polls that seek to influence rather than reflect public opinion. So now virtually every one of Trump's executive orders enjoy supermajority support that's no longer obstructed and frustrated by horizontally defined political wedge issues. So according to CBS, 59% of voters approve of Trump's mass deportations of illegal aliens. A clear supermajority, 64%, support sending troops to secure the border. 61% support Trump's efforts at ending DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And virtually everyone, every single taxpayer out there supports the end to waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government. The wedge issues, women's reproductive rights, abortion, the race baiting, the LGBT issues, they just don't have any sway anymore when the political divide has been inverted to a vertical divide. So this is why the Democrats, in trying to resist Trump, are finding themselves on a rapidly diminishing side. In the new vertical politics and the supermajority support enjoyed now by Trump and the Republicans, Democrats are no longer siding on a 50-50 split or a 45% opposition against the majority. No, they're now siding with the 20% opposition. Interestingly enough, that's exactly what they're getting in terms of their level of support, in terms of their congressional approval. They're on the side of the periphery, and Trump, MAGA, and DOGE are on the side of the supermajority. That's the new politics. And no amount of fabricated fake polls is going to change that. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.